Hello, everyone! Welcome to Game of Thrones discussion. Time to talk about Game of Thrones. Now, before we start, I have to make sure that everybody knows I'm alive and that I'm here. And it looks like I'm live, for one, so that is freaking good. You're gonna probably hear, no, I'm not gonna hear my voice. I make sure of that. Alright, so that's good. Gotta make sure I share this out to everywhere, pretty much. So let me get that all set up. Alright, send that out. Get all this out of the way before I even start, because that is the best thing to do. Is to make sure that I'm not behind. Everybody knows that I'm alive, that I'm here. So let me just get this all out. I think it's good. I think it's okay. Alright, so Game of Thrones. Where do we even begin on Game of Thrones, honestly? Season 8. To be honest, I actually am not one of the haters of Season 8. I actually love Season 8. It's probably one of my favorite seasons out of all of them. Now, that doesn't mean that there's no issues with it, because there's a load of freaking issues with Season 8. A lot. Especially story-wise. They did really well, like, visual-wise, acting, like, everything, all the aesthetics, pretty much, were amazing. It was the... it was the story itself, the writing. Which, that's what everybody's been complaining about, is the writing of it. And I mean, there wasn't much we could really do about that, unfortunately. But I know they're doing a petition on it. It had like over 1 million signatures on it, and that's not gonna do anything. And I think it's kind of a slap in the face for the actors and the people who worked on it. Go watch the like making Game of Thrones or inside the episode or whatever, because the amount of work that goes into these episodes is unreal. I mean, they put their heart and soul into this. All you need to blame is just the writers themselves. The two guys, Dave and whoever, Dan, I don't even know their freaking names, D&D. You have to let them know and send a message to them that the writing sucked. And I feel like the writing mainly was bad because they didn't seem to have any, how do I put it, like heart and soul into it. It was kind of like they just wanted to hurry up and finish it and then move on to something else. They didn't want to take their time on it. And that's the saddest thing. You can compare it to like Lord of the Rings for one. How Lord of the Rings was basically a passion project. And I can't remember the guy now who directed it. For the life of me, I can't remember his name. But I know the guy, he loves Game of Thrones, and he loves Lord of the Rings. Sorry. He loves Lord of the Rings, and it was like a passion project. He wanted to make it the best he could make it, and he did. He made it amazing. Uh, Hello, Joe Star. How's it going, man? I'm sorry I haven't been on any of your streams. I've seen them sometimes, but it's always like really late, really late at night, and I can't go on there. Hey, Cloud Runner, thank you for joining. Just talking about Game of Thrones latest season and kind of the whole show, the whole series as a whole. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of issues that I had with the season, especially the last episode. But that doesn't mean I hate it. It's weird because when I first watched the final episode, episode 6, I actually liked it. I actually didn't mind it at all. I thought it was good. I was happy with it. But as time went, because it's almost been a week now, as time went on, I started feeling like kind of so-so about it. It's cool. On the topic of D&D, they are working on the next Star Wars trilogy, which is why people are saying they rushed this season, apparently. Well, this is the thing. If they're working on Star Wars, then they need to be extra careful because people already hate them for what they did to Game of Thrones. So they need to treat Star Wars like their baby. They can't rush it or mess it up like they did Game of Thrones. But this is how I feel. If they were gonna go that route, if HBO knew this is what was gonna happen to Game of Thrones, I wish they would have kind of changed not changed the writers, but maybe added a couple more writers to the team or something. So that way it kind of divided the work, so it wasn't all on these two guys. Because it's annoying that it came down to that, because this is an amazing show. It's my favorite live action show for sure of all time, and it's one of the biggest shows in the history of the world pretty much. So it's so sad and tragic that it ended this way. And I mean, Game of Thrones is a tragic show, so I guess it makes sense for it to have a tragic a tragic ending for the show. Um but going back to the episode itself, episode 6. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'll start from the beginning. So, episode 1 and 2, everyone seemed to like episode 1 and 2. Everything was fine, everything was okay. I didn't have any problems with episode 1 and 2. Love both of them. Get into episode 3. So, we get into episode 3, The Long Night, where winter has come. The Night King is right there at Winterfell's doorstep. And it's like, we're here at this battle, what I wanted, because everybody had so many theories and like hype up for it and what was gonna happen. My thing was what I wanted to happen was for the battle to happen there at Winterfell, but somehow, see, this is where I don't know how they would have wrote it, but I wanted them to somehow lose. Like Jon Snow and all of them. I wanted to somehow that they lose at Winterfell and have to run or retreat or whatever they have to do to get out of there. Because essentially what I wanted the Night King to at least make it to King's Landing. The fact that he only took out that first house by the wall and then went to Winterfell and died is such a letdown. He didn't even make it to King's Landing. Like, come on. I don't watch the show that much, but from the words of close friends, they hated episode 3 through 6. Yet that is episode 3 through 6 are the most hated. And it's because that's where it gets into juicy bits of the story where the things started messing up. Also, the Night King deserved better treatment. He did. The Night King was the guy. There was my sister and kind of me wanted the Night King to just win, to just kill everybody. And that was the end of the story. Because what a shocking and Game of Thrones type of ending that would have been if the Night King was the one that won in the end and then he got the throne. Because we saw in season 2 where Daenerys had her vision of the Red Keep, where the throne room completely destroyed and has like snow falling down into it. And it was always speculated that the Night King and his army was going to make it to King's Landing, and that's how it gets destroyed. Well, it's not that amazing. It did not turn out that amazing whatsoever. It kind of turned into this weirdness. I mean, I don't know. I was rooting for the Night King too, especially if they have been hyping up and making the White Walkers as terrifying. Exactly. 7 seasons of hype and build up and mystery and scenes that were like, ooh, what's that? What's gonna happen here? Oh, what's the Night King doing? He's creating babies into White Walkers. Oh, this is amazing. And then he just dies and that's it. All of that was for absolutely nothing. The designs that he was making, the way that he never spoke a single word. Not one word. And yet he was the most terrifying villain. Like, you know this guy was a badass, and he didn't have to speak. You just felt it from his presence. And it's just the amount of hype that they made. I mean, the whole show was winter is coming. Winter is coming. Finally, winter came, and it lasted 1 episode. That was it. That was the end of the whole thing. It's like, he could have at least made it to King's Landing. If he had made it to King's Landing, and then they fought there, and then the Night King died, I would have been completely fine with that. I would have been completely for it. But the fact that he died so early, it felt weird. I was kind of speculating. It would have been cool, like if I was writing the show, and they made it to where the Night King dies there, I would have made it really messed up. And made Bran turn into the new Night King because he got touched by the Night King and maybe like his or not aura but like his some I don't know. But somehow that Bran becomes the Night King, like he just kind of turned into him because he put something into Bran. It would have been cool, but everybody was just waiting for the Night King to come back somehow. Like there's no way he's dead. That's how it felt. That it felt like he didn't die. Like okay, there has to be a way for him to come back, but no, he's dead. He stayed dead, and that was it for him. Ever since season one, I was very intrigued by the White Walkers, but seeing them get not only defeated by Arya, but the attack ended with almost no major casualty. Exactly. It looked like major casualties. I mean, it looked like we had 20 guys left out of everybody. We had like we had like 5 Unsullied. We had maybe 2 or 3 Dothraki left. Jon Snow, Davos, Jaime, all those guys. But then at the very end, it's like we see like Daenerys has all the Unsullied there, and it's like, are they just multiplying on their own? Because I could have swore she only had like 20 or 30 of them left, or maybe 100 at least. But I mean, they hyped it up to be like it was gonna be the Red Wedding. They're like, oh yeah, episode 3. Oh man, that battle's gonna be the Red Wedding. It's like, okay, the Red Wedding had major deaths, major casualties. So what we got was a bunch of side characters dying. But to be fair, Robb Stark and his mother and all them, they were kind of side characters because Daenerys and Jon, not knowing at the time, but they were the main ones. So they were side characters too in a way, but they were doing important things compared to the ones that died in the little episode 3. But it wasn't enough of them. I feel like Brienne maybe should have died. Maybe Davos. I don't know. I feel like they needed a couple more deaths. Maybe Grey Worm or somebody. I don't know. But it felt like there wasn't enough. Like, I don't know. It felt the whole episode was tense. The whole episode was amazing. The battle was incredible. The things they did for a TV show, because you have to remember this is a TV show. This is not a movie. It felt like a movie. It was that amazing. But then when it's all said and done, when it was just over with, it didn't feel like there was enough. It felt like that was it. There has to be more, right? It said, yeah, they just restocked magically, because why not? Basically, yeah. Basically, they did that to make a better shot as she's giving the speech, and she has, like, thousands of them. But, I mean, it doesn't make sense for the story, because they all died. Going back to the people who worked on the show, the cinematography from what I saw in the battle was very, very amazing. Yes, the writers aside, and writing aside, acting, cinematography, special effects, everything else around the entire show, especially that episode, was absolutely brilliant. It was the best, besides Battle of the Bastards, it was one of the best medieval fights I've ever seen. I mean, they said it was the biggest one in history for medieval fights and stuff, like bigger than Lord of the Rings type of stuff, because the amount of work that they put in was just off the scale. I watched the inside the episode for that one, and it was just mind-blowing what they did. And it's so sad that they put that amount of work and love and care into the episode for the fans to just hate on it. And I mean, I understand they hate it because of how it ended, but it's not their fault. I blame the writers. But anyways, I wanted the Night King to survive. I wanted him to win. I wanted him to take over Winterfell and then not chase the good guys down, but kind of just like win and then continue marching on to King's Landing, because if they chased them down, Jon Snow and everybody's dead. But I wanted them to at least make it past that point. One thing I wanted Jon Snow and the Night King to have one-on-one fight. 1v1. I don't care who won the fight. I don't care if Jon got his butt kicked and somehow survives. I don't care if he takes out the Night King. I wanted them to fight each other, because there was many times throughout the series where Jon and the Night King exchanges glances to each other, because there was something there. There was some kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I thought there was, but apparently there wasn't because they don't get the fight. It turns out into nothing. I mean, it was cool, don't get me wrong, when Jon Snow was running towards the Night King to fight him, and the Night King was like, "No, I'm going to raise up the dead around you." And that was a really cool part. I really loved it, but I still wish they would have fought. I mean, I kind of wish Jon Snow was the one protecting Bran instead of Theon. That way, at least he would have got to fight the Night King just for a little bit, but not die, of course. But at least fight him. Yeah, I even agreed that Jon deserved the killing blow, or at least fought to his death against Night King. Yes, fought him. Maybe the killing blow. I kind of do like Arya jumping out of nowhere and stabbing him, but there needed to be more fighting with the Night King himself. With somebody. At least Jon Snow, because he's the one that I wanted him to fight. But it felt like the Night King didn't do much. He rode a dragon, fell off, took Daenerys' fire, and then just walked up to Bran and then died. I mean, he didn't do anything. And what was up with his bodyguards, the other White Walkers, just standing there like the most useless things in the world? They didn't get to do anything. There was just so many things they could have done. I said Night King needed to flex those spears. Yes, he should have stood away from Bran and just just tossed a spear at him. It would have been epic. Bran wouldn't have seen it coming. I mean, he probably would have. He would have just had to dodge really quick. I don't know. I just felt like it was too soon. It felt like it was way too fast for him to die. If they did that and then maybe later in episode he came back to life somehow, then I would have been fine. But the fact that that was the end, just it felt lackluster. A lot of fans were saying that what you have to do is you have to picture that episode 3 is the finale of the whole show. And then episode 4, 5, and 6 is the epilogue. So if you think about it that way, then it's like, right, okay, so episode 3, that huge battle, that was the finale of the show. That was it. And then we go into all the after stuff. So that kind of makes me feel a tiny bit better, but not very much. Because I wanted more. I mean, I kind of wanted that the blue fire dragon to just blow fire at Jon Snow, and then Jon Snow standing there like unharmed because he's a Targaryen. Something cool like that, you know? I don't know. I just felt like it was just too soon. It was way too soon. But everything else was amazing. Besides it being too dark. Because I do agree that the episode was very dark. You couldn't really see that much. I had the same issue with the final movie of Harry Potter back in the day. When Voldemort was attacking Hogwarts and they did it at nighttime and you couldn't see anything unless you turned the brightness up like way up. So I had the same feeling with this episode where it was just too dark and it could have been done in the daytime. It would have been much more amazing, but I understand they were trying to go for like, ooh, it's the long night, it's dark and scary, ooh, it's like, okay, we get it, but we wanted to be able to see it at least. But other than that, I mean, Arya doing the killing blow is kind of cool. How Bran knew that would happen. He gave her the knife to begin with. She uses her ninja warrior skills to jump out of the darkness and stab him. So I'll give it to her. She can have the win. I just needed that 1v1 fight with Jon Snow and the Night King. That's all I needed. But I guess whatever. So they lose there. That's the end of that episode pretty much. I mean, there was so much they could have done differently, but I guess I could tell they were rushing it. But it's still one of my favorite episodes of the whole show. Besides the Battle of the Bastards, which is probably one of my favorites, because that one just was insane. I will say having all your forces outside the wall instead of inside was a bit silly. True, they were all... I mean, the Night King could have, like, he didn't even have to fight. The Night King could have just, like, stayed away the whole fight and just let his forces take over, because there's no way that Jon, Dany, and all of them would have been able to win. Just with the zombies alone. There would have been no way. And all he had to do was maybe come down and then raise the dead back up again and then leave. He would have won. I don't understand what was even the point of coming after Bran. I mean, they said it was because Bran is like the memory of humankind and stuff. That made no sense. Like, why was he so important? He killed the other three-eyed raven, and nothing happened. Nothing changed in the world except for Bran. So if Bran died, nothing would have changed. There'd be still people alive and stuff. So I don't know. It was a weird excuse to get the Night King to get there. But nonetheless, it was definitely a good battle despite some bumps. Yes, despite the little issues, it was incredible. Like, I loved that episode so much. My heart was beating so fast during that whole episode. That was the most tense episode ever. So we go to episode 4, which I actually don't remember very much. It's kind of like the aftermath of basically Daenerys slowly becoming irrelevant. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, I felt bad for her because she lost Jorah, for one, and Jorah was what kept her not going crazy the whole show. Because, like, people always tell me, especially with episode 5, the biggest issue that people have with episode 5 is Daenerys going crazy and burning King's Landing to the ground. Now, the thing is, I saw this coming from, like, years now, because she's always had, like, a very slight madness to her. She always did things that I was like, ooh, Daenerys, that's kind of dark. Like, why are you being so evil right now? But then they kind of like, you kind of just push it in the back of your head, because then somebody would convince her, no, Daenerys, that's really messed up. Don't do that. Show mercy. And then she'll show mercy or whatever. But when it came to King's Landing, she didn't have that anymore. She didn't have Jorah. She doesn't like Tyrion anymore. She didn't have Missandei. She didn't have Jon. She didn't have anybody. There was nobody that cared about her anymore. So without that balance of, like, people telling her, you know, don't do that, it's bad, and actually doing something bad, she didn't have that anymore, so she just did whatever the hell she wanted, which was burn people alive, which she's done that many times throughout the show. So it did not surprise me at all that she did that. But going back to episode 4, I could tell that she was going through a lot. Even though they were celebrating, she felt secluded. Nobody was talking to her. I mean, why was nobody talking to her? I would have talked to her, been like, sweet dragon, mother of dragons, like, you're awesome. You're amazing. You saved our lives, you know. Thank you so much for fighting in this battle and with your dragons. But no, nobody thanked her. Nobody talked to her. She was just left alone. And I felt bad. I felt bad for her, because even Jon was getting all the recognition, even though, like, he deserves it, because he fought on top of a dragon and all this amazing stuff. But so did she. She fought on a dragon as well, but she gets no recognition whatsoever. Briefly on the coffee cup that was discovered, the Starbucks coffee cup. I actually did not notice it at all when I first watched it. Going back, it was so dark in that area that they were in that you couldn't really tell it was a coffee cup unless you made the brightness, like, super, super bright, which I guess people still had the brightness on from the last episode. So maybe that's why they saw it, but I didn't. To me, it's like, that's nothing. I don't care about that stuff. So that doesn't bother me. But I mean, I don't know. I felt like Jon could have been more apathetic to Daenerys. I feel like he was pushing her away a little bit too much. Like, I understand that he feels weird with her now because finding out that she's his aunt and all that stuff. Like, I get it. He doesn't want to really be with her anymore in that way. But he could still be compassionate and talk with her about stuff. Like, how she's feeling, what she's going through. He kind of just like, yeah, you're my queen, and I gotta tell people about my secret. It's like, dude, talk to her. Give her a hug. She needs a hug. She lost, like, really important people in her life, but whatever. I guess Jon missed out on that. I don't like that the whole reason that we find out that Jon is a Targaryen was just to make Daenerys go crazy. I hate that that's what happened, because I felt like when we learned about it that it was a really big deal, that it was something that was momentous to the story. And then in the end it was nothing. It was absolutely worthless information. And I hate that that was the case because Jon Snow is my favorite character of the whole show, and he was my favorite character from season 1. Like him and Tyrion were my two favorites. Tyrion kind of, especially this season, it kind of got weird with Tyrion, but Jon Snow's always been my favorite. And how they treated him in this season wasn't fair to his character because he is cool because throughout Game of Thrones, we didn't know who the main character was. We thought it was Ned Stark until he got his head chopped off. When that happened, we kind of assumed there was no main character to Game of Thrones. It was kind of like a free for all. Anybody could die at any time. But then slowly you started to see that Jon was the main hero of the story. I mean, you could assume Daenerys was as well, but it always felt like Jon was slowly becoming the main character. And then at the very end, they're like, yeah, bye. I low-key never watched Game of Thrones, but I heard the final season was bad. Well, Huggy Face Gaming, you need to watch Game of Thrones because it is a spectacular show. My favorite live-action show of all time. But the latest season was my favorite season, but it did have bad moments and bad writing. I'm not gonna say it was so bad don't watch the season or the show in general because it's not that bad. But I think the problem was so many people had so many theories about what could happen and what was gonna happen, and the fact that basically none of them came true, I think is what hurt the fans the most. In the end of the day, nobody was going to be happy. Either you give the fans what they want, and then they say it's predictable and fan service, or you do something new and different, and then they hate you for not being enough fan service. So in the end of the day, people were going to hate it no matter what. Jon was my favorite too, and seeing him be so much different compared to the past season kind of made me sad, at least to me though. Yeah, what I felt when this show was done was extreme sadness for Jon. I felt so bad for Jon. What he went through, gone through, and what he had to do in the final episode, it was heartbreaking because this guy didn't deserve everything that happened. And then in the end, he got what he wanted because he never wanted to be king. He never wanted to lead. So he was happy in the end because he got to be where he wanted to be. But the fans weren't happy. We wanted him to be king. True. I always feel like people bash on the show just because what they wanted didn't happen. It is exactly right. Exactly right. I think most of the people bash it because it's like a bandwagon. They jump on a bandwagon of hate. They see a whole ton of people hating on a show, and then they're like, yes, it was amazing. It was it was horrible. Just so they could be like a part of that hate group. Because it doesn't deserve the hate. It really doesn't. I mean, it has bad writing, and it didn't end the way I wanted it to. I feel weird about how it ended. But that doesn't mean it's a horrible show. I love the show. It was incredible. That's kind of like the future Trunks arc in Dragon Ball Super. Yes. Now, although with that arc, that one's weird because I love that arc. It's probably my favorite arc of all of Super. Because that arc had stakes. It had, like, death and had a dark villain that you're like, wow, this villain. Who's going to beat this villain? And it did end in a really weird way where, I mean, I kind of liked how the Trunks arc ended, where nobody won. The bad guy kind of won in the end, even though he got taken out by Zeno. He won. That was the first time the villain actually beat the good guys, and their world was destroyed. So I actually liked the future Trunks arc, but I could see it being very similar to this, where people hated on it. I think people hated on Trunks arc for different reasons, though. Whereas this season of Game of Thrones, everyone is agreement that the writing was just bad. Like, everyone hates the writing. I actually don't remember what really happened in episode 4 of Game of Thrones besides the whole after party and Arya and the Hound going after to kill Cersei, Jaime going back to Cersei. Now here's the thing with Jaime. So for me, it made sense. I'll try to explain it. It makes sense that he would go back to Cersei. At the same time, it makes no sense. If that makes any sense at all. The reason why it makes sense is because he loves her. And we've seen throughout the entire show that no matter how badly she treated this guy, he always came back to her. Always. And it's like it makes sense because that's who he is. He may be a good person now, like a genuine guy, but that doesn't mean his love for Cersei disappeared. So in that respect, makes sense. Now, why it doesn't make sense? Because he realized what a dirtbag Cersei is and that she was gonna kill him. So he should not love her anymore, even though he did for the first reason. It makes sense, but he shouldn't love her anymore. He should know she's evil. He should know she's never gonna change. The fact that she betrayed the world into not helping them fight the Night King is proof that she is just a horrible, horrible person. So it doesn't make any sense that he would go back to her, like all of a sudden for no reason. Like, oh yeah, we won the war. She betrayed us all, but yeah, I'm gonna go back and talk to her. It's like, what did you? I feel like if he went back before all the dragons and stuff happened, like if he went back to Cersei, she probably would have just killed him there. Because I mean, she even sent Bronn to go and kill Tyrion or Jaime if one of them survived or if either of them survived. So I don't understand like why he did it. At the same time, I do. So I don't know. I didn't necessarily hate the season to the point where I'm like, screw this show, but I definitely did see the mistakes, and I was disappointed as other fans would say. With basic knowledge about the show, I'm glad I get to at least talk about it. I like these discussions. Yes, you actually know quite a bit for not for not having watched that much. Yeah, it's not as much for me. It's not hate for the show that I have. It is disappointment. It's disappointment because it could have been the greatest finale of any show in history, and it deserved to have that finale because it is the greatest. It was one of the greatest TV shows of all time. So it deserved to have an ending that fit that. So the fact that it didn't, the fact that it had a mediocre or bad ending is a huge tragic disappointment. So, I mean, I get the hate. I do. It's just I look at the work that was put into the show, otherwise like with the cinematography and stuff, and I just can't blame it. I mean, I can't hate it because they did so much. But anyways, the whole Jaime thing. So I would have been fine if he went back to Cersei and made it look like he was going back to her just so he could kill her. I would have been fine with that because that would have fit more with how things should have turned out because he's the Kingslayer. He killed the king for wanting to kill all the people. And Cersei was trying to do the same thing by having all the people as like hostages pretty much in the face of Daenerys. So he's the Kingslayer and she's the queen. So he could be the Queenslayer as well, but I mean, it was a missed opportunity for that. I wish it would have been that. I mean, it was kind of poetic how they held each other till the end. Their whole world was crashing down around them and then they died, but I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of fine with how that is, but at the same time, it could have been better. That's the whole thing with this show. I'm fine with what turned out, but it could have been way better, is basically the whole thing. I just dropped some water everywhere. um, so the whole Jaime thing, yeah, I don't understand why it had to be that way. But I guess they wanted him to go back on everything that he talked about. And especially, he didn't need to sleep with Brienne. Like, I don't understand why he slept with Brienne and then left her. It made no sense. I mean, and her crying and everything. I mean, I would have rathered if he slept with her that he would have left without her knowing and then she would wake up and then it's too late and we wouldn't really see what happened. The whole fact of like her crying and all this stuff, it didn't feel like Brienne to me. It felt like a weak person, and Brienne's a strong strongest lady around. So I didn't like what they did with her character, doing it that way. I think the person who had it best, probably in the entire show, is Podrick. Did anything ever bad happen to Podrick? He may have been treated bad sometimes, but that guy, like, never had anything bad happen to him. No one ever died that, like, around him that he really cared about. He got to, like, be with a bunch of prostitutes from Tyrion. He got rewarded. And I think he got a girlfriend at the end in that party at Winterfell. And then at the end, he's a knight and he's in the Kingsguard. Like, man, that guy never had any problems throughout the whole show. So way to go, Podrick, I guess. Um, so I don't know if there's anything else to talk about in episode 4. It was basically just leading into the whole thing with episode 5, which, I mean, oh, there was a big thing. I almost forgot. Daenerys' dragon getting killed. So Daenerys flying around the Red Keep or King's Landing or whatever, like, so casually, by the way, because her dragon was hurt. He couldn't fly very well. And she's just kind of out there flying, and then gets shot down all of a sudden. Now, that part was amazingly shocking. Like, I was just like, oh my god, what's happening? But it made no sense, because Daenerys knows that the Greyjoys, that's what it is. She knows the Greyjoy fleet is out there. So I don't understand why she decided to fly around. And it's funny because I saw an interview with the writers, and he's all like, oh, and Dany kind of forgot about the Greyjoy fleet. Like, what do you mean forgot? How would she forget? There's a giant fleet just waiting there in the ocean to kill her. It made no sense why she even did that. Like, just, especially the way she did it, just flying around all happily, knowing full well that they have a weapon to kill her dragons. Is just, I don't know. That was very lazy writing right there. Oh yeah, that was shocking, but I was just like, huh? That's how I was. I was like, what? Yes, they did say that. They said that she forgot that the fleet was there. Like, oh, they said she kind of forgot. Like, yeah, Dany kind of forgot. Like, what do you mean, kind of forgot? She knew the whole time that she's made comments in the past seasons about the Greyjoy fleet being there. Made no sense. That was Jon's dragon too, man. Like, it was such a disappointment. But it was fuel to get her to be more crazy. I could see that, but it was unnecessary. And then Missandei getting captured by Cersei and getting beheaded in front of them. Now, I don't know why Daenerys blamed Tyrion, because he pleaded with Cersei to get her to surrender. So he gave it his best shot. Just because it didn't work doesn't mean he failed. It's Cersei. You can't expect her to just give up that easily. So I didn't understand why she got so mad at Tyrion. Like, oh god, this is your fault. You really believe in your sister. It's like, get over it, man. It's always picking on him for that. But Tyrion is trying his best. It's just every time he comes up with a plan, it doesn't go that way. Something happens that changes how it goes, and then he's made to look really bad. It's like, he's doing his best. Leave him alone. But when Missandei got beheaded, I felt so bad for Grey Worm. And I hate how he became a douchebag after that happened. I understand why it happened, like why he did that, or why he became that way. But it's like, Missandei wouldn't want that. At the same time, she said Dracarys, she wanted King's Landing to be burned to the ground. So, I mean, it is what it is. But seeing Daenerys get angry, you knew exactly what she was going to do. She lost everybody. She lost everyone that cared about her, or that she cared about. She had no one left. She tells Jon, like, I only feel fear in this land. I don't feel love, just fear. And she already had a tiny little screw loose in her head. We've seen it many times throughout the show. Her burning people alive for no reason. Just because they wouldn't bend the knee, she burns them alive. That's not a merciful queen. So you knew that if she got to a breaking point, that she was just gonna lose it. It was kind of like destiny that was gonna happen. I hated that Varys, because she promised Varys that she ever did something that was against the people, for him to tell her. And so that point came, and he's like, "Look, Daenerys, you told me I promised you I would tell you, and I'm telling you, right now is the moment that you're against the people. Don't do this." And she just shook him off like, "I do not listen. Shut up. I don't need to listen to you. I don't care what you have to say." And I'm like, Daenerys, what the hell's going on? I don't understand why her character got so weird so fast. Like, the people, the fans weren't upset with Daenerys becoming this character, like a mad queen. They weren't upset about that. They were upset that it happened so fast. Because if we had a full 10 episodes, so we had 4 episodes that we didn't get. If those 4 episodes were in between these episodes that kind of slowly fleshed Daenerys out to becoming the Mad Queen, I think people would have been fine. It was the fact that it was kind of like she was good, everyone died around her, all her people are gone. Now she's crazy. It just happened too fast. But I mean, I get it. I get why she did it. It just, like people said, it was way too fast. So we get into... Oh, hold on. It was like a switch. She went mad so quick without any proper lead up to it. Exactly. Proper lead up. I felt lead up because I've seen moments throughout the whole show where she kind of felt like tyrannical. She felt like she liked to burn people alive. She burned people alive all the time. Just because they wouldn't bend the knee or they were in her way. She always did it. And I kind of felt like she had a darkness within her. But like you said, it was like a switch. Because if it slowly led to that more, it would have been fine. But it was the fact that it was like, yeah, burning people alive, blah, blah, blah. Kill everyone. Kill everyone all of a sudden. So I understand the people angry with that. Because the only reason they did that was so that they would kill her off. And that was it. And it's sad that that's how it had to happen. Because I knew at the end of the show, it was either going to be Daenerys or Jon getting the throne. In the end, neither of them got the throne. But I knew at least one of the two were going to die. And I did not feel like it was going to be Jon because he already died. So there was no point in him dying again. It wouldn't feel like a true death for Jon. But Daenerys was kind of the one that was like, yeah, she might die. So I guess you could tell that it was going to happen. Unfortunately, it happened in a way that we did not want it to happen. Because it could have been so much better. And I hate that it was that way. Now, episode 5. The big episode where she kills everyone in King's Landing for basically no reason, but kind of had a reason. It kind of gets into where we kind of have a little bit of a battle, but not really, because the Golden Company that Cersei got was absolute garbage. Did the Gold Company even do anything? They were just there to die, weren't they? I mean, it was a brilliant strategy for Daenerys to come in from behind and blow up the wall, because while the Golden Company's like, oh crap, then the Northerners can come in and just finish them off. It was a brilliant strategy and it worked. But Golden Company didn't do crap. They just died. They were just there to get killed. They act like they were such badasses, but they were nothing, apparently. Because, I mean, they did such an amazing... Jon's team and them did such an amazing job getting into the city, making it all the way in, and getting the Lannisters to surrender, and the bells to ring, and it was over. They won the war. I don't understand. See, this is the thing that people hated was there was no reason for Daenerys to kill anybody after that because it was won. The war was won. The bells are ringing. All she had to do was capture Cersei and that was it. It'd be over. I felt like it would have made more sense. If this is the route that they wanted to go, it would have made more sense if some innocent bystander that was just in the city was trying to kill Daenerys. Like maybe somebody or a group of them were trying to kill her with like bows and arrows or trying to... I don't know. It would have made... If she saw the general public trying to kill her or be against her, then it would have made more sense because then she would feel like, oh, these people aren't for me. I have to kill them. But it was the fact that they surrendered. Everything was fine. Everything was done. There was no reason to do it. Her looking at the castle like, I have to kill everybody. If she was gonna go that route, it would have been made more sense if she attacked only the castle, but not the innocent people. Killing innocent people made no sense. For a force known as the Golden Company, they weren't very golden. They weren't very golden. They weren't. That was good. They were not. They sucked. Especially the guy, like the main leader of the Golden Company, he was just running away during the fight. Garbage. Garbage Golden Company. I can't believe it. Ugh, my voice is getting so dry. Anyways, so when she got crazy and burned everybody alive, it made for an amazing episode because of the destruction, the chaos, the amount of destruction, the special effects of the fire coming down and blowing up buildings and everybody on fire, the castle crumbling down. Spectacular. Every episode spectacular on the cinematography. It's just the reason behind it is like, why? Because it looks cool. That's why. Especially like the whole thing with Arya being there and getting hit with the blast and stuff. It didn't really make sense because I feel like Arya is better than that. I feel like she would have been able to just get out of that like pretty okay. But the fact that she was trying to help that mother and child, maybe it got her like in the way of some of the attacks. But I don't know. I felt like it was weird for Arya to have several moments where you think she's dead and then she's okay, and then she looks like she's dead. She's okay. So I don't know. It kind of felt like there was no point for Arya to be there because she went to kill Cersei. She went to kill Cersei, and then that was it. She's just like, okay, I'm leaving. It's like the Hound is like, oh, you don't need to come with me because you'll die. So it was pointless for you to even come here at all. Made no sense. The Clegane Bowl was really cool. Him and the zombie, the zombie mountain fighting. It was really amazing. I like the cinematography of like the dragon overhead and the castle crumbling as he's trying to kill this guy. It was kind of cool. He was like a zombie. Although we'll never understand how Kyber like was able to create this guy like that. Like what experiments did he do to actually make him undead? It was like it never had any explanation of what he did or how he did it or why he did that. Like I know it was to keep him alive, but to make him a zombie, I felt like that it was gonna bite him in the butt. And it did because he died so fast. He got brushed aside like a fly. Like get out of here. And his brains splattered everywhere, and that was it for Kyber. And then Cersei kind of like cautiously going down the stairs. It was just weird, but their fight was cool. It was very poetic how they both fell into the fire because that was the Hound's greatest fear was fire because of his brother putting his head in fire. So for both of them to fall into the fire and die, it was a cool poetic death. So that to me was good. I actually liked that. But just the whole fact of Daenerys just blowing everything up and killing everybody, it didn't really make that much sense. And I wish it kind of makes sense just because she lost so much. Everyone doesn't love her. She has nobody. She hates Cersei. So it's like, okay, she snapped and that's fine. But there was no lead up to that. It was kind of just like, she's crazy now. Kill everyone. I love Jon's expressions throughout the whole thing where he's kind of like in shock of what's happening. Like, oh my god, she's killing everyone. It's like, yeah, that's why I love Jon Snow is because he's the most real guy that there is. He knows exactly what's up. And it's like this poor guy, he can never find somebody normal to be to lead or to be in love with. It's always some crazy person he's in love with. But I mean, we get to that ending or like the later scene with Jaime saving Cersei. I wish that he would have killed her, because it would have made more sense for his character of how far he's come. That killing her is kind of like his way of saying you're not in control of me anymore, or you have no hold over my love for you anymore, or anything. But I mean, the fact that he tries to rescue her, and they both die together, and it's like, well, poetic, like nice, but I kind of wanted Cersei to die a really horrific death. I think she's a villain from season 1. She deserved to die like a horrible death. She's killed so many people in such horrible ways, and she kind of to die peacefully by getting rocks crushed on her, like not peacefully, but you know what I mean. Like it should have been way worse than that. At least Jon got to pet Ghost, the best boy. Yes. I'm so glad that Ghost survived, even though it makes no sense that Ghost survived. Because Ghost was one of the first people to charge against the zombies, or the whites. And he came out with just losing an ear. Like, wow, that dog is the best direwolf. But that was a good moment. That was a nice moment in the last episode. But I feel like they could have had that moment still and had an amazing finale. I don't understand why it had to be such crap. So Cersei and Jaime die. What's that guy's name? The pirate, the horny pirate that was always talking about being with the queen and that he's the king and all that stuff. I can't remember his name. The Greyjoy guy. How he died was so stupid. For one, why did we need a fight between him and Jaime? Was there any reason for him to fight Jaime at all? How convenient it was for him to get washed ashore right where Jaime was, and then have the strength, after swimming all that way, to have the strength to fight Jaime off. I feel like, yeah, Euron, thank you. Euron Greyjoy, yes, you're correct, that is his name. I keep forgetting, he was such a lackluster villain that I forgot his name, so thank you for that. If they were gonna fight, if him and Jaime were gonna fight, it would have made more sense, or it would have felt better to me if Jaime just straight up murdered, like killed this guy without getting stabbed, like death blows. The fact that Euron's like, yeah, I'm the one who killed Jaime Lannister. It's like, well, if he's gonna get crushed by rocks, why was it necessary for him to get stabbed? Was it to scare us, the fans, into thinking that he was gonna die? It just felt weird. I feel like they could have done something better with Euron. He kind of just felt like a random villain that just wanted to be horny all the time, and then got stabbed in the stomach and then died. That was his whole character arc. I also did think that Ghost should have died, but he's just like, nah, I want my pets, Jon Snow. Yes, he wanted to be petted by Jon Snow, and he was not gonna die until he got that. I do like that he's one of the last direwolves to survive, being like the runt of the litter. I know Arya's direwolf is still alive out there somewhere in the wild, but it was kind of cool that Jon got to keep his direwolf all the way to the end. So that's basically that episode. So we get into the finale. Now, the finale. So many things to talk about in the finale. So starting off with Tyrion basically finding his brother and sister dead under the rubble. Now, that's all fine. That's fine. It makes for a really, really sad moment for Tyrion because he loved his brother. I mean, he cared about Cersei because it's his sister, even though he knew she was evil and had to die. But seeing both of them dead, I mean, it is heartbreaking for him. The only thing that I did not like was that if they had just stood a few feet away to the right or the left or whatever, they wouldn't have died. Because there was like a nice big space of no rocks covering the ground. But yet where they were underneath a pile. So they were just standing in the wrong spot, basically. That was poor set design for that. But, you know, that's just a small gripe. It wasn't anything. I knew they had to die like that, so whatever, I guess. But it was sad that that's the way it was. I also thought that they could have sidestepped so easily. All they had to do was like look at the ceiling and kind of like, okay, judge where the rocks are falling and try to dodge them. You know what I would have done? I didn't think about this until after the episode, but they were in the basement with the huge dragon skulls, right? Why didn't they get like underneath the dragon skull? Because I mean, that would have protected them against the rubble, I'm sure. Unless they got completely, the whole place got buried, they would have been completely fine under the skull. Unless it was really weak, but I expect the dragon skull to be really sturdy. They could have just went inside and just waited it out. I mean, they would have got captured by Daenerys probably and burned alive, but at least they would have, at least that would have been the death more fitting for them instead of being crushed by rocks. So that's the route I would have went if I was the writers. um, so we get that and all the destruction. Jon Snow's not happy because Daenerys is killing or Grey Worm's slaughtering some Lannisters, which is true. They're prisoners. They've given up. Like, why does the killing have to continue? It could just feel like this darkness had taken over Daenerys's her army, and Jon Snow was not having it. So the whole conversation with Jon Snow and Tyrion. Actually, before that, we'll talk about Daenerys' speech. So I don't understand why she had to keep fighting. Why did her speech sound like she wanted to go to Winterfell, Lannisport, and liberate all these places? Because she won the war. She's in control of the Seven Kingdoms. What else was there to do? She's talking about Essos, like yes, and Essos, like you already liberated Essos. You have your guy, like taking care of things in Essos. So what more fighting did she want? I don't understand what she was planning to do. Because she already won. She has the world in her hands. So what more was there? I like when she said Winterfell because she's speaking in a different language and and Jon Snow hears Winterfell and he's like, "Wait, what? Winterfell?" Like it sounds like she's gonna slaughter everybody in Winterfell too. It was a really cool moment for Tyrion to look at her, and when she's like, "Oh, you rescued your brother. That's treason." He's like, "Yes, you slaughtered a city," and takes off the badge and throws it. Amazing. That's a slap in her face for what she did. But, I mean, Tyrion, and Jon talking about Daenerys. So, the thing is, I understand where Tyrion is coming from because I could tell he loved Daenerys. He really believed in her. And so, to see her go crazy, it hurt Tyrion because he knew that in the end, she wasn't the right person to rule the Seven Kingdoms. And so he believed in Jon to be the one to take care of that. Now, this is the thing. This is the thing that I think is garbage, okay? So Tyrion explains to Jon, yes, you have to kill her. You need to do what needs to be done to save the world because you always do what's right and blah, blah, blah. Slowly coaxing him, yes, Jon, kill her. So then Jon kills her. And then what happens? He gets thrown in jail and then banished, while Tyrion gets to be Hand of the King. How is that fair? Tyrion is a co-conspirator. He's the one who actually pushed Jon to do that. If anything, Tyrion should have been banished too. It made no sense. Jon got the short end of the stick, like the whole season. The poor guy he got pushed around and told to do so many different things. And then in the end, he's like, I don't even know if I did what was right. And then Tyrion's like, oh, ask me again in 10 years. It's like, what do you mean 10 years? You're the Hand of the King. You get to have all this fun while I have to get banished to the wall. It was so dumb. Exactly. Tyrion baited him so hard. I felt so bad. Yes, I felt heartbreak for Jon. I was like, God dang, Jon. This show is not nice to you this season. Jon's like, what do I do? You have to kill her. But I don't want to kill her. Kill her. And then he kills her. And now you have to be banished, Jon. You don't get to be king. It's like, dang. Leave the poor guy alone. He just wants to be in love. It was sad. It was sad that that's how it had to end for Jon. Because I did not want that to be his end. So he goes... I like, though, how he goes to talk to Daenerys. To, like, almost try and test her. To see her state of mind on things before he kills her. The whole thing with her, like, wanting to change the world, and she got the Iron Throne, And by the way, the callback to her vision from season 2, amazing. The whole thing with her touching the handle but not getting to sit on the throne. I really like that they did that. But it's just I did not I knew she was going to die. I knew either Jon or Arya was going to have to kill her. But it was so heartbreaking for Jon. I felt so bad for Jon because Jon really, really loved her. He loved her so much. So I feel when she died, it's like, oh God, Jon, why? Why is the show doing this to you? Because she was talking all like, we'll change the world together, we'll rule the world together, you and me. And she's like, you know what's good? He's like, I don't know what's good. He's like, yes, you do. Because I know what's good. And then Jon's like, well, what about the rest of the people? What about what they think is good? She's like, well, they don't get a choice. That right there was the darkness in her mind. The fact that she said they don't get a choice. It's like he tried so hard to change her, to make her see that she was being evil. And so that was his cue to kill her pretty much. And it's so sad that it had to end that way. I mean, there was several times in the show that she acted psychopathic, but dang, that was the one thing that had to happen, and I did not want it to happen the way that it did. And she really believed in Jon. She really loved Jon as well. She loves Jon, and she's always trying to kiss him, no matter how angry she got at him, always trying to be with him. But I felt, when he stabbed her in the heart, I felt betrayed. I felt the betrayal through her. And I understand the reason of, like, what Tyrion was saying about Jon's sisters and stuff. Like, obviously Sansa was not going to kneel to Daenerys. So, what was going to happen? Was she going to burn Sansa alive? Was she going to kill Arya? There was just so many things that Jon had to think about for the future. Like, what's going to happen if I let Daenerys live? So, I understand he had to kill her, but it just felt so sad. It was so heartbreaking. I felt... This is the one thing that I take away from the episode, how I feel about the episode, or how about the feel about the whole season, is heartbreak. I feel, when I think about the look on her face when Jon stabs her, and how sad and crying Jon was, I feel like my heart is like torn in shreds. It was such a hard thing to watch. Now, and especially when the dragon showed up, when Drogon showed up and was like nudging her body and trying to get her to wake up. So sad. It was kind of cool that the dragon realized, because dragons supposedly are intelligent beings or whatever. The fact that it knew to blow fire and destroy the Iron Throne because it knew Jon wasn't what killed Daenerys. It was the Iron Throne that killed Daenerys. The hunger for power and for that throne, it drove her mad. It knew that and it destroyed it. Really cool moment to see that evil freaking chair, to see it melting down to nothing. That was a cool moment, but there's a moment after that could have been better for this whole thing. Drogon nudging the body was what pulled my heartstrings. Yep. It was so sad because you never really get to see how the dragons really feel about Daenerys. Like, sometimes they acted like they were always angry and just like showing their teeth and growling and stuff, but that was a moment you got to see Drogon actually be sad. And it felt so bad. But this is what a fan said. I saw this fans come up with this, and I actually would have thought this would have been pretty cool if Jon kills Daenerys, Drogon destroys the Iron Throne, and then tries to kill Jon, like breathes fire at Jon to kill him, and then Jon is unhurt because he's a Targaryen. And then in that moment, I think the dragon already knew he was a Targaryen, but what people wanted was they wanted Jon to get onto Drogon and be its new master, I guess, or whatever, since he's a Targaryen and they're the masters of dragons. And so that he could basically take control of the whole situation. So, because the Unsullied were going to be angry that he killed Daenerys. But if Jon has a dragon, what the hell are the Unsullied going to do? Jon is in control of everything with that dragon. But when that dragon took off, Jon's kind of like left there like, oh snap. Now what? Also, if I remembered correctly, Drogon lost everything as well, and now he lost his mother, basically. Yeah, he lost his siblings and his mother. All he has left is Jon, who's a Targaryen, but he only just started getting used to Jon. So it wasn't like he was that used to him either, but tragic. You know, Game of if I was gonna rate this on anything, people say the ending was really bad. They say Game of Thrones finale was awful, but it fits the Game of Thrones like way of doing things because Game of Thrones has always been a tragic story, always tragic. If you wanted a happy ending, that's not what Game of Thrones is about. So the way that this ended was tragic, and that's how Game of Thrones is. And I know people don't like that, and they feel hurt by it, but that is Game of Thrones. There wasn't gonna be no happy ending to this. But how they treated Jon after this moment was garbage. How they banish him to the wall, and it's like, oh, you'll never take any children or wives and never have children. It's like, what do you mean? Who's gonna keep watch over Jon? Like Bran, because he's king of everything now. So Jon could do whatever the hell he wants. Especially the fact that the Unsullied leave the Seven Kingdoms. So what was the point? They're not watching Jon. Jon can do whatever the hell he wants now. He's in the north with the wildlings. No one's watching him. He can have whatever children he wants to have. I think it was just so stupid the way they did him dirty like that. There's no reason for that. The whole thing with Bran becoming the king is... I'll hold on. Jon deserved a quiet life after this, honestly. Yes. See, that's the thing. That is what I take away from this whole finale. Is even though the fans didn't get what they wanted, what did happen is that the Starks themselves, they got what they wanted. Jon never wanted to be king. He never wanted to be a leader. He just wanted to live a peaceful life, doing whatever he wanted to do. And finally, at the end of the show, he got what he wanted, which was to be in the north with the wildlings and the Night's Watch or whatever, and just live his life, a peaceful life. So Jon got what he wanted. The fans did not get what we wanted. I wanted Jon to be king. Jon deserved to be king. He was a Targaryen. He would have ruled amazingly. He's an amazing leader, even though he doesn't want to be leader. He's amazing at it. Bran got what he wanted because I think he wanted to be a knight when he was little, and now he's the king of knights. Arya wanted to be like a warrior, a knight, or like an adventurer. She got to be assassin adventurer. Sansa wanted to be queen. She's queen of the north. I mean, everybody got what they wanted. It's just that's not what the fans wanted. We didn't want that. So Bran becoming king. That to me makes no sense. On one side, he is the wisest person in the world because he knows everything about everyone. He knows everything about everything. So it makes sense. Like, he would be a good leader because he's so wise that he could just be like, yeah, we need to do this. Way before something even happens. The thing is, he doesn't have any empathy. So if somebody was like crying in front of him about some situation, he'd be like, yeah, that's just how life is. That's how it's supposed to happen. It'd be like, what kind of a king is this? He's not gonna solve anything. He's just gonna be like, yeah, you were where you were supposed to be. So I'm sorry. So him being king made no sense. The whole thing with Tyrion being like, oh yeah, what makes a good, you know what is really good? A story. A really good story. And you know who has the best story? Bran the Broken. I'm like, what do you mean, Tyrion? You have a better story than Bran. Everybody sitting there probably has a better story than Bran's story. All Bran did was fall out of a building and live, and then got sledded around, like the whole series, and then warged into some animals and stuff, and then, yeah, I'm king now. Like, how is that a good story? Jon's story is literally a billion times better than Bran's. Bran the Broken to me doesn't sound like a king type name. Bran the Broken is not a king name. It's Bran the Robot is basically what he is. He's not anything else but a robot, that kid. Um, it was kind of funny the whole thing with Sansa being like, by the way, can we have like our own separate kingdom in the north so that we're not a part of all of this? And then Bran's like, yeah, it's fine. And then the other group everybody else is like, wait, was that an option? Damn, I shouldn't have said I. It's like, wouldn't at that point everybody be like, actually, I want to be out too? Make it the five kingdoms, make it the four kingdoms instead. The fact that she was the only one to get that treatment is kind of weird. Like, you would think that because a Stark is in power, that she wouldn't have a problem with being in the Seven Kingdoms, but whatever, she's Queen of the North now. I always hated Sansa, never liked that character, all the way even to the finale. Never cared for Sansa, ever. She was too. She had her nose stuck in the air, like way too much throughout the whole series. Don't care about her stupid struggles. She was just a jerk to everyone. Did not like her. Spilling John's secrets when he told her to swear not to say anything, like, stupid. Tyrion becoming the Hand of the King, it makes sense only because he is really good as a Hand of the King when he was in King's Landing, when he was under Joffrey's rule. He actually handled things very well. But, I mean, he deserves punishment too. And that's not punishment, by the way, because Grey Worm's like, that's not punishment. And he's like, yes. Bran's like, yes, it is, because he has to fix these mistakes for the rest of his life. What do you mean? He gets to live in a castle, all clean and happy. Like, how was that punishment? I don't understand. Jon got punishment. That poor guy. I don't watch Game of Thrones, but hello. Hey, Born Bros. I'm almost done talking about it, but it's been quite a discussion. It's been a lot of fun talking about this, because it's such a complex series, and what they did with the last season is such a disappointment of what they did. Facts. That's literally his job that he's done before. Yeah. How is that punishment? That's what he's been doing this whole show is Hand of the King. There's no punishment at all. He gets what he wants, basically. You know who got what they wanted? Bronn. Bronn got what he wanted. He got Highgarden. He never had any issues with anything. He almost died in that one battle with the dragons, but he just threatened a couple Lannisters, and he's like, yeah, now I got Highgarden. It's like, wow. Good job, Bronn. So weird. I like Brienne becoming the Kingsguard, like the main. I know it's the main person in the Kingsguard, but I can't remember if there's a specific name. But Captain of the Kingsguard, I guess. It's kind of cool that she got that position because she deserves it. She's an amazing fighter, and the fact that she got to be a knight and then that, awesome. But so what's Bran gonna do as a king? He literally shows up on his wheelchair. He's like, yeah, so what's going on? Everybody tells him what's going on. He already knows what's going on because he knows everything. And he's like, yeah, what about the dragon? Wait, I'll find the dragon. It's like, what do you mean you're gonna find the dragon? There's just weird things that just kind of like, here's this weird thing, here's this weird thing, here's this weird thing, and now the show's over. Arya going to be on adventures in the west of Westeros. I heard someone say it's Eastos. It's Easteros or something. I don't know. Like, wow, okay. Queen of the North Sansa, whatever. Bran being king, whatever. Jon being like being sent to the north to live among the wildlings. I mean, that's what he wanted. He gets what he wants. He's happy. Let Jon be happy, I guess. Whatever. It felt lackluster. It felt like that's it. That's what we've been leading up to, is for all of this to be how it ends. I don't know. Someone said it would have been amazing if Jon gets through the wall with all the wildlings, and then they see the Night King standing there. And that's how it ends. I wanted Jon to at least fight the Night King, considering he was the main one dealing with the White Walkers in the first place. Exactly. That's what I've been saying this whole time. Why wasn't Jon portrayed as the hero that he was? Jon is the hero of the show. I don't care if there's no main characters in Game of Thrones. That guy is my hero of the show. So for them to do that to him just felt gross. I did like the callbacks to episode 1 of season 1, in the very first episode of Game of Thrones, where you have these guys at the wall, the gates opening, and they go into the forest. We see all of those exact same shots, except now it's Jon with the wildlings. I thought that was so cool that it goes back to where we started, which it's like a circle is complete, but it didn't feel complete. That was the issue. What this does is now it makes like a bunch of side stories that they can make. All of the prequels and sequels and whatever they want to do. It sets up for all of that. Like adventures with Jon Snow in the North, adventures with Arya, and it's like I don't care. I wanted what I wanted. um, overall though, overall this was my favorite season. I know that I badmouthed everything, but everything else they did, the battles, the cinematography, the stakes, the tenseness, everything was so amazing in this season. It's just the little things. The little things that played a big role in the story is what I didn't like. Because we've been finding the whole thing about finding out about Jon being a Targaryen, they made it like it was a really big deal. Like, yes, he is the prince that was promised. Nope, he's a nobody. He's back in the north. See you later, Jon. Like, why? He's the last Targaryen in the world. They'll probably make Bran the Broken spinoff, because why not? Oh my god, if they did that. What would they even be about? Just him sitting in his chair, like, looking like he's drugged up? Looking for Drogon? So, before I leave this live stream, I will say a theory that would have been amazing if they ended the show like this. It would have been a little cooler. Is Drogon takes Daenerys' body and then flies off. We don't know where he takes her body. It's kind of left unsolved. Someone said it would have been cool if Drogon took her body to the Stone Men or the Forest Children of the Forest, and that they turn her into a White Walker, and then her eyes open and they're blue, and that's how the show ends. That would have been a cool ending. That would have been an ending like, oh my god, wait, what? And then that's how it ends. I would have felt better about that ending, even though it would have been a really weird and crazy twist. I would have felt better about that instead of just like, yeah, Jon's in the north. The end. That would have been kind of cool, no lie. Yes, that would have been cool because she's like undead now and she has a dragon with her. Like, I don't know. That would have been a really cool cliffhanger for the whole show. But nope. We just get Jon going in the forest and the end of the whole show. So overall, this series, Game of Thrones, has been the most amazing show I've ever watched. I'm trying to convince my girlfriend to watch it. It's really difficult to get her to be convinced to watch it because what she's been told or what she's seen is that the entire show is nothing but boobs and dragons, and that's it. And yes, it may have boobs and it may have dragons, but the story of Game of Thrones is spectacular. So I can't wait to just force her to watch it. Because it's worth a watch. It's my favorite show. And it always will be, no matter how this season ended, always will be my favorite show. I'm gonna buy this season on Blu-ray. I have all of them on Blu-ray. I'm gonna buy this one for sure and have the complete whole story because it means that much to me. That's how it was described to me as well. But the story is definitely very, very intriguing. It's an amazing story. Amazing. The twists and turns, the things that happen, the character development throughout all the characters. The fact that what made me love this show more than any other was the fact that I love almost every character. That's really rare for me on a show. I used to love The Walking Dead. For a long time I watched The Walking Dead. But then it got to a point where I did not give a crap about any of the characters. I didn't care about Rick. I didn't care about Daryl, Glenn, even before he died. I didn't care about anybody. I'm like, what's even the point of watching this if I don't care about any of the characters? But in Game of Thrones, I love every character. All the side characters are amazing. The Hound, Bronn, Davos. All of them are amazing characters. And I love them all. So it made the show that much better for me. Yeah, same. I kind of fell off on The Walking Dead for season 5. Yeah, season 5. I fell off. Walking Dead like killed itself for me right when Negan bashed somebody in the head and we didn't get to see it. That was the end of the season. This, if you remember the season finale, where we get to see from the perspective of the person getting hit in the head, and that's how they ended the whole season. That was such a betrayal of the hype and what they were building up to. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was such a backstab because they were hyping it up like, who's gonna die? Who do you think is gonna die? Oh, make sure you watch the episode because we're gonna tell you who dies, and you don't find out who dies. You gotta wait till next season. It was all about getting views and watches and whatever, and it was garbage. And then when we find out, it was like, wow, it was Glenn and Abraham. Yay. That was it. The show kind of just went like crap after that. I kind of hated that too because I knew who it was going to be anyways, based on the comment. Exactly. We knew technically who it was going to be. It's just, yeah, that show was garbage. I love The Walking Dead until that happened. And after that, I fell off the show. Never cared to watch it ever again. But Game of Thrones, even this season though was kind of whatever, loved it. Loved it completely. Always will love it. And I can't wait to rewatch this show from the beginning because the Game of Thrones finale, it leaves me with the urge to go back and see how far the characters have come because the characters went through so much in this show. So spectacular. Cinematography, the setting, I love medieval stuff, so everything was amazing in this show. So make sure any of you watching, give it a watch. Game of Thrones is so worth it. Don't listen to all the haters who hate this season, this last season, because the writing was just not up as good as the past seasons. That's all it was. And even though it wasn't as good, it was still good enough to be a great show. So, as much as I love Negan, yeah, I stopped afterwards. But Game of Thrones is definitely a series I may have little info on. But I can appreciate what it does so right. Yeah, you already know so much about the show, by the way. So go and watch it episode to episode, and you won't be disappointed. It's a brilliant show. Brilliant characters, amazing villains, evil. It shows the evil of humanity in such a way that's like real and gritty, and it's like, yes, this is what we need. But anyways, I think that's it for me. I'm glad that my favorite characters, Jon and Tyrion, survived through the whole freaking show. I knew I was right in picking them as my favorites. Yeah, I got a fully experience one day. Yes, you need to. It's worth the watch for sure. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this. Probably my longest live stream I've done so far on this channel. Make sure you check out my other videos, my gameplay videos, my anime reviews, all that good stuff. Check out my Discord. I'll put it in the link in the description below once this finalizes or once it goes up. Alright, catch you later. See you later, Joestar. Hopefully I can catch one of your live streams at a good time. It's always after work when it's like midnight or 1 in the morning that I see that you're on, but if you're ever on, I'll try to jump on your live stream as well. But thank you so much for watching. Check out all my other stuff. I'll be working on the May review pretty soon, the funny videos and memes of May as we go into June. So I thank you guys again so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. I'll try to be early then see ya. I'll try to be on there. I really will. If I catch you, if I see that you're online, I'll jump on, even if it's late. Just to say hello at least if it's too late. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and have yourselves a great one.